Hey everyone, and welcome to a new Java tutorial. So you might remember this problem. It was pretty similar to this whenever we were discussing if statements, where we said if height is high, we can make it print out high, mid, or low. So obviously you could simplify this a lot by just going where is it? I'm gonna comment all that out. And by the way, the shortcut I used to that was Control slash. So we could also of course make it this way simpler by just going height is, and then we could go plus height, and that completely removes all of our if statements. And so this code would also, of course, work, and it would just say height is high. Um, but let's say our height was instead an int, so we had an int, and our options were 0, 1, and 2. So we're going to start with 0, and 0 is going to be low. So if height equals 0, height equals 1, height equals 2. So this is one way we could, of course, solve this problem. But I want to show you a different way we can do this that can simplify this kind of a lot. So first thing, let's see right here, we could instead use what's called the switch statement. So right here, I created it, and this thing right here has basically filled it all out for me. So I'm going to do this manually, by the way. So that's how you create a switch statement. So the way we do it is first we type switch, then we type these parentheses, and we put in the name of the thing we're wanting to switch. Then we put a left curly brace, and then enter, and that will basically indent it for us. And we need to type in the keyword case, and then type in all the different cases. So let's say we're doing 0. So what this means is, what are we going to want to happen when height equals 0? We're going to say system out println height is high, and then we're going to need to use a keyword known as break. And what this is basically telling the code to do is to break out of the switch statement. And I'll explain why we need to do that in just a second. So let's say we do it again, and we go height is mid, and we can break. And then lastly, case 2, height is low. And I'm going to capitalize all these real quick. So what this break statement is basically doing is it's saying, I don't want to do everything that's below this. So let's first see what happens whenever we do this. We get 0, and it says height is high, and it would do the same thing for the other two. But if we didn't have these checks right here, oh, I just realized this is actually backwards from how we had it before. So we'll put it back to 2. So, oh, I forgot to remove one of the breaks as well. Perfect. Now what this is going to do, whenever you have 2, it says height is high, height is mid, and height is low. And that's because what's happening here is it's just starting to run all of this code that's after the cases. So whenever it's doing this case, then it's going to run for all the cases. Sometimes that's behavior we want, but in this case, we don't want that behavior. So we need to put in all of these breaks right here to basically explicitly say we don't want that. We want it to just break out. So you might, of course, be asking, what if our thing is not any of these? What if we end up with a height of 3 somehow? That is actually going to, right here it's done nothing. So it's basically saying none of these cases pass, so it's completely ignored it. And when you're dealing with objects, this can actually be a bad thing. So for this reason, you're often going to want to have a default case. And even if all that case does is break, that's just saying you want this to happen in case there's nothing. Like you want to explicitly say like what's going to happen if none of these conditions have to be true. And we could just say height is unknown. Just like that. So this is one way you can use switch statements, and you can see the switch statement has actually gotten a lot longer than the if statement, but there's something we can do to make this a lot shorter. We'll be discussing how we can basically simplify this problem a lot more in the future, but this is the switch statement, and I'm actually a very big fan of these, especially a new thing we're going to be going over, switch expressions in the future.